Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining Prevue's webinar, How to Elevate Your Events with Purpose, The Road to Net Sustainability. We're so glad you're able to join us today. I'm Prevue's editor, Lisa Simonson, and I'll be your moderator today. We have 3 experts on sustainable meetings with us, so this webinar is going to be packed with information and tips for you. First things first, though, I want to take a moment to thank the sponsors who made this webinar possible. Park City, Utah, Norwegian Cruise Line, Virgin Voyages, the Atlanta Airport District, and Ponant Explorations Group. Thank you, sponsors, for supporting us. In addition, oh, there goes my voice. A quick mention of our visionary summits for 2026. We've already got 2 in place. So go to prevuemeetings.com for more info on that. I'm so sorry. Also, a couple of housekeeping things. Today's session will be recorded and you will receive a link via email, so don't worry if you miss something. As with all Prevue webinars, you're also going to receive 1 CEU from the Events Industry Council. And also, there is a sustainability white paper available to you in the chat and at prevuemeetings.com. So we want to hear from you during this webinar. So can you use the chat now, everybody, to tell us where you're joining us from? And I will take a minute to Chicago, Kansas City, Wisconsin, Montreal. There's another Chicago. Wow, guys, you're from everywhere. Scotland, what? Virginia, Ohio, California, Washington, D.C., Toronto, Tampa. Terrific. We have a real great cross section, and there's Florida. Thank you for joining us today. Also, we want you to feel free to submit your questions anytime in the chat, and we'll get to as many as possible. So in this webinar, we're going to be talking about creating net positive events, and this is what our panelists are going to help you with. Impact assessment to help you learn to measure the positive environmental, social, and economic impact of your events, and the metrics that you're going to need to drive continuous improvement. Collaborative initiatives, social responsibility, hi New Jersey and Philly, and the economic benefits of exploring how sustainability can drive that value for you, reduce costs, and attract clients who are looking for this kind of meeting. But before we get into the discussion, we're going to launch our poll. It's a quick survey to get an idea of your experience in integrating sustainability into your meetings and events. So, you know, those questions about if you could be any tree that you wanted to be, well, here's your chance. Our question is, when it comes to incorporating sustainability into your meetings and events, which of these levels best describes you? A seedling just starting out, a sapling with a few events under your belt, a young tree with early productivity but more growth needed, a mature tree frequently building sustainability into your programs, or a sequoia touching most branches of sustainability. So go ahead and fill that out. While I clear my throat. Great. So we actually have 33% that are just starting out. So that's good. It's good that you're attending and you're going to learn a lot. We have 21% saplings. They have some sustainable events under their belts. We have 33% young trees. So they're doing some early productivity, but they need more growth. 13% a mature tree. That's great. So they're doing more sustainability in their programs. We don't have any sequoias, so that's good. There's always room to go up. So we're so glad you were able to do that for us. Thank you very much. So whether you are a sapling or a sequoia, we know you're going to get a lot out of today's program. Joining us today are our panelists, Jody Brandes, Associate Director, Internal Meetings and Strategy at Gilead Sciences, Edward Perotti, Principal of EP Events and Experience, and Nancy J. Zavada, a CMP Fellow, Founder and President of Meet Green. We're so fortunate to have these special guests with us. They're going to share their experiences, insight, and advice When they first start talking, they're free to tell you more about themselves, just so you know where you're getting your information from. It's amazing. So let's get this webinar going. I'm going to start with Edward, if that's okay. What is, for those seedlings, what is a net positive event?
Well, first of all, big shout out to Scotland. Hopefully you're sitting at your desk with a lovely whiskey in your hand because it should be that time. As long as it's organic and locally sourced. Just calling that one out. So it's interesting with that poll because as much as I think the three of us here would be considered tall tree or mature or whatever, there the rules and the terminology change so often that there are times where even I think we all feel like a sapling, right? We all still try and catch up. So, you know, as much as we're here talking to you because we have done things and we can share information, know that it is an ever-changing landscape for all of us on a daily basis, and we're all trying to just figure this out. With that, so when you hit me with net positive, of course, I'm like, great, another term, right? Another first we were green, then we went sustainable, and now we're saying net positive. And I'm like, just boom. The easiest way for me to talk about net positive is think of net positive as social, environmental, and economic aspects, all of it, right? It's about the idea of a beneficial, positive handprint rather
Mhm.
than reducing a negative footprint.
Mhm.
So if for me, that's the easiest way to think about net positive is we're always talking about, all the negative, and I hate that we're saying a negative footprint. Well, it's not negative if we're doing something. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But net positive is about combining all of it, right? Think it is multidimensional. Like I said, it's social, environmental, economic impacts. So when you say this, it goes beyond the sustainability word that everybody equates to green and green meetings. It goes to the people in the locations that are impacted by when we're hosting meetings there. It goes to that local farmer. It's the big word. And I have embraced the term net positive because it is the big word and it's easier for me to hang my hat on so I don't feel like I just am focusing on whether or not we're using a bamboo plate versus a porcelain, right? So if that makes sense to people, I hope. If it doesn't, DM me, but just think of it this way: beneficial handprint versus negative footprint.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. So let's go on to our second question. Why should sustainability be a priority in meeting planning? And maybe Jody would like to chime in on this one.
Absolutely. Obviously, meetings involve a lot of travel, catering, printed materials, so all these things that contribute to carbon emissions and waste. And you see it a lot in the news, well, in our news of the number one, number two, well, I think airlines, but we're just a huge contributor to waste, and we have a huge opportunity to make an impact on the environment. I am probably like Edward, more of a ask forgiveness than permission type planner. So if there are things that I know I can make a difference in my planning, then I'm going to do it. It's it's our part of our responsibility as the strategic advisors, as the meeting professionals, to do what's right for the environment as much as we can.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And Nancy, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Sure. I think that our industry has a huge responsibility because of our immense buying power. When you are ordering food or any of the millions of decisions we make, you're not doing that just for yourself. You're doing it for thousands of people. So you can really use that to change whole industries or to work with local farmers and to really make a difference and push venues and vendors a little harder to um, accommodate you, because we do have so much tremendous buying power. And that's especially true if you can, network with other planners who are interested in sustainability, and as a group push venues and vendors and really realize, what you're able to do. You're not just one voice, you're the voice of 1,000 at that point.
That's a good point. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, Edward.
Can I just piggyback that, Nancy?
Of course.
Sure.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I want to punch something that you said really, really hard to this group, and it was 2 words: your voice. Your voice. You are speaking for all your attendees,
Yep.
but your voice is the one that can make the difference. And your passion, whatever it is, and that's why I like the net positive approach, because there are so many different things. Your company already may be doing things and you're just acting on them, but there's more you can do. Your voice is the most powerful, and the most powerful to make the change.
Agreed.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. So now we're going to go into how can we reduce travel related emissions when organizing large gatherings. And I think Jody, you might want to talk about choosing walkable destinations.
Yeah, walkable destinations, especially, looking at a location. For me, for internal meetings, we do a lot of social evening events. So where do we not have to provide shuttles or ride share opportunities? So places that people can walk around easily, as well as for flights, if you know where your attendees are coming from, choosing a location where they have more direct nonstop flights, they don't have to connect, is huge. That's definitely something that we look at is those, a lot of time for our large gatherings, it's those hub cities, because we know our attendees can get there with the least amount of carbon emissions.
That's a good point too. I mean, sometimes you can't help a connection, but if you can, right, to choose a hub. Nancy, did you want to talk about rail travel?
Yeah, I think this is an aspect that often gets overlooked, but the East Coast has so many opportunities for rail travel, and we here on the West Coast where I am, it's a little more difficult, not as convenient, but still, I'm in Portland, Oregon, and we do a lot of events up and down the entire coast, and especially like to Seattle, it's easier and to hop on a train than it is to go out to the airport, go through security, do all the things that take time. And then you still get to the airport, have to travel from the airport. Whereas by rail, you go out, you minimize the security, you get on, off it goes. You can work on your way there. It's really easy to do that. And then you arrive in, downtown Seattle. So it's a perfect opportunity and it's cheap. So you should really look into rail travel. And we always, talk to our attendees about, is there another way to get there besides flying?
Well,
Recently, my team, we had back-to-back site visits in San Diego and Anaheim.
Mm.
And we decided to take the Surfliner, the Amtrak. It was $39 for each of us. It was an hour and a half, which is about the same as, like you're saying, going through TSA, getting on a plane, going up and down. And there were about 10 of us. I'm sure it saved hundreds of dollars, and it was a blast because we all just sat together and enjoyed the time, debriefed on the one meeting, talked about the next meeting. It was a great idea.
Sounds fun. Edward, go ahead.
so I do quite a bit abroad, and from a transportation perspective, we are in the States, we are so behind the times. I mean, I'm going to be the politically incorrect one here and just sort of basically say we're screwed up when it comes to that. As perfect example, I mean, Jody, you're the San Diego to Anaheim, perfect example. I had a program in Sofia, and then had to go to Amsterdam, then had to go to Berlin, and then had to go to down to Cannes. And it was more cost effective. It might have taken a little bit longer, but I was more productive on that. And I wasn't stressed, right?
Right.
As a traveler, to have a program in Paris and my attendees are in London, it's a 2-hour train ride versus dealing with Heathrow or Gatwick and then dealing with everything else and then the carbon emissions and then the stress of an airport experience versus I'm going to sit in the train for 2 hours and I'm going to have a glass of wine and I'm going to open up my laptop and get things done. And oh, by the way, I'm saving the planet.
Mhm.
That sounds great too. As far as airlines switching to sustainable fuel, I don't know when that's going to happen. What do you think of those efforts? Do you think that they will yield fruit? Anybody?
Believe it when I see it.
Okay.
I mean, I when it comes to the big boxes and the big money, talk is cheap. I don't with hotel chains, with airlines, with all of it. I don't believe a damn thing anymore until I actually see it in practice.
Mhm.
Because it's interesting how these comments always come out around end of quarters or end of year when shareholders are around. So put it to practice, show me that the fuel works, show me the data, and then let's go. But right now, talk is cheap.
Well, and I'm not speaking on behalf of any airline or anything, but similar to the poll with the seedling or just doing whatever you can, the baby steps. I give a shout out to Alaska. They have the boxed water and they do instead of using plastic cups for the beverage service, it's paper cups. So maybe it's not sustainable fuel, but in doing those, what little things can you do? I had talked to the panel earlier, like we haven't done plastic water bottles at a meeting in 20 years. It's a little thing, it's something. It's going back to what Nancy and Edward said about your voice and making small decisions that can have a huge impact. So little shout out to Alaska Airlines on there, what they're doing.
Thank you. So, what are the most effective ways to cut down on waste at an event? Jody, we're going to go to you again.
Yeah, we've looked at we've spent a lot of time on food waste recently. So we look at our historical data instead of guaranteeing 100% of our attendance for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We have tailored that to 75% for breakfast, 85% for lunch. You're never going to get everybody. They're going to go to the gym, they're going to grab a banana, they're going to have a phone call. So we never guarantee 100%. Like I mentioned, we don't do plastic water bottles. We also stopped serving decaf coffee at our meetings because you spend hundreds of dollars on those carafes and when the banquets team comes in and your regular coffee is out, they reservice the whole thing and it's just dumped. So that can be a cost savings for the meeting. Sometimes you can negotiate it, sometimes you don't. We've replaced decaf coffee, either depending on the hotel. Sometimes they'll have a coffee shop at the hotel and we just say, you can expense your coffee, or we'll provide packets that go with the hot water. So you have packets for hot tea, we have packets for decaf coffee. We've been doing it for years, have had no complaints. But I would say one of the biggest impacts that we can make is about communication, talking with your vendors and your suppliers and your hoteliers about what's important to you and what can they do to support your company or your meeting's mission, the mission of in sustainability. So whether that's replacing polyfoam signage with corrugated cardboard or digital, or not refilling a buffet when it's 15 minutes before the end of the lunch period.
Right.
It's communicating with them on how to partner together.
That sounds great. And I think Nancy, you had something to add to that.
Well, yeah, those are all great ideas. And the I believe if you when you start planning your meeting, look at what you can reduce. So let's take swag, for example. If you don't hand out the grocery bag or backpack, think of what you're saving in materials, in just the economic value of those. But then once you buy them, you have to have them shipped to you. And then you've got to, if there's things that have to be stuffed in, you have labor for that. You have labor for putting them out, someone handing them out, checking it. And then in the end, if there's leftovers, then you have to worry about a donation stream. So is it really that important to your group to have that swag? We've had technical conferences and they love their bags. But one year we said, how about if you bring your bag from a past event? And we had a little competition to see who had the oldest bag that was still around. And they were all, you know, touting their bags from wherever that event was held that year. And it was a great fun. And they didn't miss it. Or you can put it on the registration form. I really need that. And then you're not over ordering as well. So just an example of things you can do.
Opt in instead
Opt
of
in,
opt out.
that's right.
Sounds good. Edward, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, actually, just two things on that. Nancy, love that with the swag. We have a client that we did the same thing with the bag, bring your old bag. But what we did was, and it's been about 6 years now, is we created a patch for that year's event. And we have a sewing station in the
Nice.
swag area so that they would get their patch and they will put it on their backpack versus all new stuff and
Mhm.
all new everything. It's kind of like the pin
I
mentality,
love
right? It's a badge
that.
of honor. Um, and then the other part with the food, if there's any suppliers, any hoteliers on this call, the Hilton in San Francisco did this amazing lunch event that, once again, we can give you all the words, we can give you, and we can talk till we're blue in the face, but most of us are visual, right? We understand our data, but we also need to be shown. Is they did a lunch event and they did 3 different versions of food service. They did the lunch for 50 people plated, then they did it buffet, and then they did it family style. And each table had a different experience. At the end of the lunch, all the food waste from those different experiences were gathered. They were put in 3 specific glass barrels and marked. So you could physically see which one is the worst when it comes to food waste and which one is the best. And as much as people love buffets and love options, that's also not where the trends are going, even with healthy eating, right? And being mindful on people's wellness. Part of it is portion controls and all those other things. So think through what you do with your clients to give them examples of how you can help them help their organization and help the locations.
That sounds good. Somebody from the audience had a question, that applies to what we're talking about right now about leveraging, technology to keep waste at a minimum. What do you think about something like that?
I'll say there's two
Like event
aspects.
apps that replace paper materials, that kind of.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's the most obvious. I mean, our agendas and speakers are changing by the minute. So
Right.
using the mobile apps, we do use digital signage in the venues. But again, I think a big part of it is partnering with venues that are LEED certified, that have power that automatically goes off when nobody's in the room. That's where I think technology is a broad term, but those are the most obvious ones that come to mind to me.
And we had some comments, they love the patch idea. Somebody said, the patch with it sounds like a Girl Scout thing. So,
Give me the
Uh,
cookies. I have no problem with that.
going on to the next question, should hybrid meetings be considered more sustainable? And Nancy, I think you had a comment on that.
If this goes back to technology, I mean, hybrid meetings are more sustainable because you're not doing airline travel for them. So that the airline emissions are between 75 and 85% of all events carbon footprint. So the ability to reduce that is fabulous. And it doesn't work for everybody. You've got people who need to be there, need to be in the room, but also there's people who are just coming in for the educational information, and they may not need to travel to be there. They can be home with their families and going to their kids' soccer game in the afternoon, evening. They don't have to fly, stay, saves money. There's just so many different economies for hybrid meetings. It does cost more depending on how you set it up. So you need to be aware of that, but there are other aspects of the budget that you're saving on. You're not feeding people, you're not putting them up in hotel rooms. There are cost savings with it. I mean, I think it's one of the benefits, if you can say that, of the pandemic. Technology zoomed during, oh, that was a bad word to use. Technology grew so quickly because it had to. And it got so much more sophisticated in just a year or two. And I think we're losing some of that. And we need to make sure that we're inclusive and get back to that for people who can't maybe economically travel. Maybe they have to take care of a loved one. They can't travel for that reason. So I think we need to really watch that. As much as it's fun to be with people and network and idea share, there's ways to do it in a hybrid format.
Yeah, I would say it depends, haha. On the meeting objectives, of course, but we do talk about JOMO, the joy of missing out. So just like you're saying that you have things at home that you need to be there for, and if there is a 4-day meeting and all you need to hear is the 1.5-hour keynote, then it makes sense to create the hybrid moment there and give people the JOMO of staying home.
I love it.
Yeah, well, and this topic is a double-edged sword, right? Hybrid and technical meetings are not going to replace the face-to-face. Not going to happen. But the question always comes down is how do we use technology to better serve the event, better serve the organization's culture, make sure that the guest experience, which is key, right? We have to temper budget with experience because events have a massive retention aspect to it as well as a recruitment aspect to it that we have to take into consideration. But if you're using it, I love the JOMO, Jody. I'm stealing that. I flip and love that.
Right.
But there is a time and a place for all of this. But you, as the lead individual on your programs, have to do your homework in order to fill your gun with all those bullets to make all these business cases to your leadership team, who really, at the end of the day, want their amber spotlight on them on the stage and their backpack, because that's what I apologize for being once again politically incorrect, but that's what the good old boy leadership wants, because that's all they know. So you need to do your homework first. And if the culture of the event works as a hybrid, but they've never done one, get the data, show them why. If your culture is a kumbaya and they are a remote company, so it's the one time a year to bring them all together, then find those other aspects like a general session so that somebody who is on paternity leave can still be a part of it without having to feel it. Technology is about enhancing the experience and the ultimate way for inclusivity first, because we're not going to get away from our face-to-face meetings. This industry is not leaving because of technology. People will still need to physically connect. We just need to be the leaders on what to use, when to use it, and how to make it effective.
Okay, great, thank you. So we touched on this a little bit, but what factors go into selecting a sustainable venue and providers? Nancy?
Sure. I mean, Jody talked about this a little bit, but in doing your homework and choosing a vendor or a venue, the first thing we do is we ask for their sustainability policy. What are you doing that we're not pushing you to do? What is your organization doing? What kind of certifications do you have? I don't want to have to go down the rabbit hole of checking every hotel for certifications. I'd like to see what their certifications are and that they've already been vetted. I mean, you've got to have upfront conversations. We start right out with the RFP, and we have a survey that we send with it asking about their green initiatives, asking what they do, or if they're not doing it right now, what might they be able to do when our conference comes to town?
Point. Okay, thanks for that. And we touch on this a little bit too, but should organizers, meaning you, prioritize local suppliers over cheaper distant options? Is that sort of an obvious for you for sustainability?
As long as it's not Encore. Oh, sorry.
I would say like one thing that we've done, it's not necessarily a supplier, but there is definitely a culture on giving back. And a lot of times people will, our stakeholders will say, well, we want to give back to the American Red Cross, right? Great. That sounds wonderful. But we're going to be in Anaheim, right? So can we not find somebody local in need that we can do a sustainable, a give back activity there? So kind of going back to that net positive of leaving the meeting better than you when you got there, focusing on opportunities in the city that you're meeting is taking place, rather nothing against the nationwide charities, but it also means more to the attendees, giving them, it's almost more of like a face to the name of the community that you're hosting the meeting in.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Can you write sustainability into contracts? Nancy, I think you had a point to make on that one.
Absolutely, you should. Absolutely. It's tough sometimes, but then sometimes it isn't. But if you don't have any teeth in your contract and you've asked them for all these sustainability initiatives and they don't do it, what's your recourse? You have nothing. So you've got to, during the RFP, during the negotiations, the contracting phase, you've got to do that. If you get significant pushback, sometimes what we've done is we've said, okay, so for every sustainability initiative that you don't provide, when you've agreed to provide them, we want you to make a donation to a local charity, like $1,000 donation to a local charity. And we're going to hold you to each and every one of that. We're not necessarily asking them for less money back. Sure, if we can get it, but we're also saying, if you can't do it, we'd like to see you donate locally.
I mean, I'm gonna piggyback on that is if you're getting pushback like that, why the hell are you signing that contract with that
Right.
venue? I mean, I certain aspects I think we all understand. From, we all understand operating expenses. We all understand payroll. We all understand spend. But if you're getting pushback from a property and or a chain on basic sustainability measures, you need to go somewhere else and find another house for your people, because no rate is at this stage in our world, in our industry, no cheap rate is worth that. You, once again, your voice, you have to take a stand. And just rolling over, exposing your belly and saying, oh, sure, you're in charge, I'll do what you say. No, you have the power. You have all the power. Sorry, that's my Julia Sugar Baker moment.
Okay.
And it's not to open another can of worms, but I did work with a property that was not as willing to donate food as we would have liked. And I was not part of the contracting, but I knew we wouldn't be meeting the food and beverage minimum. So what we did was we took the amount of the food and beverage minimum we weren't gonna hit and we put that towards, I can't remember if it, I think we did do bottled water, but it was glass bottles and packaged snacks, and we donated those to the Boys and Girls Club
Love
in
it.
that area. So if it's just something to consider too, if not to say you want suppliers to not donate food, but if you're not going to hit your food and beverage minimum, there are creative ways to
Mhm.
use that money instead of just giving it to the hotel as a penalty.
Okay, and somebody from the audience, just to get this point in there, wants to revise it. If you're donating to a local organization, make sure that you define the type of organizations you want the funds to go to. In case there's anything problematic that comes up, because it will be in your name. And it's a mandate that you establish. So that's a
But
good point. Thank you.
Also think through though that that's a negotiating part as well. It doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily have to be in your organization's name, right? It just the money, because once again, the venue is going to get the tax write-off. All you're going to get is the name recognition. The receipts won't allow you from a tax perspective to claim any of that. So I would say if they have somebody they're passionate about, but you think that your board of directors might have an issue with it or whatever, once again, you make the call as long as the money is getting into the charity's hands. Does it matter if it's your name or the property's name? The end of the day, you can talk through it, but that's a cultural thing that you need to navigate and know your own business and know your culture for, and then make the call accordingly.
Thank you. So besides contracting, should event sustainability be part of your marketing and branding efforts? I think Jody had some comments on that.
Yeah, similar to what Nancy mentioned before, in our registration, we do tell people that we are not providing plastic water bottles, and we ask that they bring their own water bottles for with refill stations. And we put on it's digital signage. We have little advertisements about our sustainability practices. So it may say, by bringing your water bottle, we've saved 42,000 plastic bottles from the trash. Um, One thing I saw, I'll give a shout out to Workday. They reused their expo booths and had signs that said, "Does this look familiar?" Yes, it's from last year, and we're reusing it to. So I love that as well.
Well, and I'm going to put you on the spot, Jody, because from a marketing perspective, Jody and I worked on one of her programs together, and we did something from a give back perspective with the coral reefs in Mexico. And they were able then to, as those reefs were growing and reformatting and getting bigger and bigger, they're being sent photos about this so that they could market to the employees of, look at this, look at what you did. It's growing just like we're growing. I mean, there's a story you can also tell regarding that, which once again goes back to know your culture, know what your messaging is going to be, and find those moments and look for something creative and out of the box,
Mhm.
right? It is, it's I heard of there was a planner who did a program in Mexico with the plastic bottles, but there was a little town where the people were turning the bottles into thread. And so they actually went and made sure all the part of their give back was all the people at the program gathered all the plastic bottles at the hotel when the program was over, and it was all delivered to these different people to help them create more product for them to sell by upcycling. It's everything when it comes to giving back in the community. Think of it as a ripple effect, right? Somebody had shown me, I don't know if you have seen those posters where the motivational ones, but there's one where you see a hand and it's open and there's a rock dropping into the water and you see the ripple and the water spurting up and all that. And I used to tell people, I feel like I'm the hand. Or no, I feel like I'm the rock, right? That causing the ripple. And I was corrected and saying, okay, as the event professional, you're not the rock because that means you hit it once, it goes to the bottom, ripples are gone. You're the hand.
Hmm.
You are the hand that does it. And it doesn't have to be the whole program. It needs to be right now, it's moments. Find those moments that you can do. And if you don't know what to do, ask. There's people here that will verbal diarrhea ideas to you that you're going to regret ever asking. But it is important for your audiences to see any results. You want them to change when they get home. You want them to no longer walk down the street and step past that homeless person without a thought popping in their head of what could I do. You want them to start seeing things and not blind eyeing things. And that's the power that we have. It's not just community based, but done right, it can ripple off.
Mhm.
And one of the attendees is saying it's so important to see the results. And so Nancy, and you were interested in this question, because we have 33% seedlings, how can we measure the carbon footprint of a meeting? How is this done?
That is, as a seedling, that's a tough question because there's so much that can be done. But just look at each and every aspect of your meeting. Look at air travel. Look at how close your attendees might be to where the event is being held. Look at food. The carbon impact of different types of food. There's a lot of calculators out there that can show you the difference between ordering beef or lamb, chicken, vegan, so you can really watch that as well. Look at your signage. Look at the build out of exhibits. One of the things that drives me crazy is coming up to a registration desk at a conference and there's a sign there and the sign says ABC conference, November 20th through the 25th in Palm Springs. Well, my guess is that you're standing on November 20th in front of the sign in the right place. Do you really need the sign? I'm just asking. Can we just, do without that or make them so that they can be used year after year? And so you need to look for ways to measurement because that's the way you're going to prove it. But you can still, even if you don't have a factor to measure it, you can still reduce your carbon footprint by looking at all the different factors of the things that you're doing.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we for our annual meetings, we create one theme. We've purchased the
Perfect.
reusable motherboards that have the magnetic top and bottom. So every year we just switch out the top. We don't put the date or the location because we use those same motherboards meeting after meeting after meeting. We purchase our lanyards and our badges in bulk for the whole year. We do on-demand printing because I don't know, somehow the person when they registered spelled their own name wrong. Of course, it's our fault, but it gives them the opportunity on the screen to double check their credentials and everything before it gets printed out. So yeah, it's hard to measure, absolutely. But there are easy ways to show cost reductions in buying in bulk and reusing.
Right, and that was going to be the next question about are green meetings more expensive? And if so, how can you mitigate that so that those who are just starting to work on this can go back and say, hey, the costs are offset by, or whatever it might be. I think Nancy wanted to chime in on this.
Sure, I'd love to talk
Anybody
about
can.
this. I'd love to talk about this.
Say Nancy just went like, okay.
Yes, I did. Well, so greens, there are some green meeting initiatives that are going to cost more. If that's, organic food or just depends on what it is. But we have found that it is either cost neutral or a money saver. But you've got to take your whole budget into account. You can't just look at the food and then look at this and look at that. But if you take the whole budget into account and you're saving money by not producing swag, by lowering your food counts, all the different things, you can actually save money but you got to be planning ahead. And the green meetings, sustainable meetings, they are not more expensive if you can manage your budget, but as a whole.
Mhm.
And it takes time and it takes effort, as we've said too. An example that I've used before, we had a budget item for centerpieces. And historically, you've seen a lot, the floral centerpieces. What we did with the same budget, I mean, obviously you can, if you're given that budget, you can eliminate and save $20,000. But what we decided to do was offset that with another give back. So we had found a local school an elementary school that was just building a library for the first time. We reached out to them, asked what they needed. They gave us instructions on what types of books they were looking for. And we took that $20,000 and purchased the books and made centerpieces out of the books with a note card saying these will be donated to the local elementary school in need. So definitely not more expensive, but it takes more time to do that research, make those phone calls, and then schedule the pickup and all of that. But it also feels good. So it's hard to argue.
Well, it's creative
somebody in the-
budgeting, right?
Oh, sorry.
It's creativity at its finest. And
Mhm.
it's, when people make comments all the time that I'm not a creative person. I'm sorry, but if you can manage a budget and come in under budget, you are a damn creative individual, right? So it is, once again, not looking at things for what they are, but look at things for what they can be. And Nancy, you're spot on. It's a holistic thing. It's not a line thing. Because I mean, food is not, I don't, at this point in the States, food is going up just in general. So trying to be healthy and trying to be local and I mean, there are so many now factors we have to take into account just to even be able to afford that part of it, right? And not break the bank with it. So what are ways to offset it, right? Do you need the coffee breaks? Do you need two of them? Do you need, right? It's really looking at the creative part of the numbers, not just the pretty pictures and not just pink and blue linens. It's really the creativity starts in that Excel document.
Great, thank you. And actually, somebody here said, this is funny, I'm just gonna mention it. A client of mine once made the reprint fee half the price of the tickets. A lot of people walk back to their room for their badges. So, I mean, yeah, creativity and, holding to that standard. So have you seen any innovations that might make green meetings, sustainability, easier to implement in the next 5 to 10 years? Jody, I think you had a comment on that.
I think it still goes back to communication, and having those conversations about what we expect. I think, again, our voice, our buying power, the more we talk about it, the more our suppliers and vendors will make it their default. Because it is buying power. It is saying, I'm not choosing your venue because you don't align with our goals. And so you make that a financial repercussion. I think the suppliers and the vendors will hear that sometimes more than just our asks. And so the more we ask, the more people will do it, the easier it will get. That's my hope.
Well,
That's all.
honestly, and Jody, to that comment, when I'm gonna say it for the three of us, when we go out to properties, because we are so vocal about it, I don't even have to have the discussion anymore. They come with that as big selling items because they know that that's already ingrained in the professional brand as well as their personal brand. So to back up Jody, the more you educate yourself and the more you're being public about it, and that means LinkedIn, share posts, share whatever, but get the word out to our community that it is something on your radar, and it becomes so much easier. You're no longer pushing that boulder uphill. They're pushing it to you.
Great, thank you. Thank you. I'm just gonna skip a couple of questions only because I want to get to some of the audience questions if possible. And I think this is a great one. Which net positive event initiatives have you seen that influence meaningful behavioral change among attendees? Somebody said, we want them to go back and continue what they're learning. Have you seen any? Yeah, go ahead.
Can I mean, because
Yeah.
this is my hot button. Sorry.
Okay.
The years back, the VMware Foundation, which became this powerhouse philanthropic corporate group that just literally became kind of an icon to other companies to emulate, all came out of an event. It came out of an incentive trip that we did in Bermuda. And I joke about coffee breaks, but we got rid of who drinks coffee in Bermuda during a meeting? It's too damn warm, right? So we got rid of the coffee breaks, put that money to a give back. We ended up taking the audience to the 5 middle schools on the island, and they built computer labs. It wasn't a big group, but it was something. When the Bermuda Parliament opened, the next 6 months later, they called out the company for putting them 3 years ahead of their 5-year business plan to actually get this done. What came out of it from the company side and the employee side was all of a sudden leadership had the light go on about democratized giving, that they could actually figure this out. And the foundation started forming from that and going out there. But the wild thing is 15, 10, 5 years later, I still hear from attendees as they move to different companies. When they talk about certain events, they always talk about the give back that impacted the community and what their company is doing. And they also reference the other company in a positive light. So you've hit your retention, you've hit your recruitment, but you're also getting somebody, once again, to have their eyes open. You know, there was one that asked, it's like, hey, how do I get my company to start doing this? You know, it's like, I don't know how to start them doing this. They have zero power in regards to the event call, but it was their eyes are open. And that's the positive impact. That's the ripple effect that if you get them to touch, feel, smell something that is beyond them, that is beyond the glitz and glamour of where they're sleeping or staying, that's real life, it'll change. We on the West Coast are in a bit of a bubble. The rest of the world, it's amazing how Middle America changes, and people that live in Middle America, their outlook changes when they realize how simple it is to just show up. It's a heavy lift on our side, but the impact is greater, which goes back again to your voice and your passion and what is right and what is, you know, just writing a check.
Here's something that I wanted to get to too, but only because a number of attendees have posed the question about AI, that it's being pushed on many event planners to optimize the planning process, but can it still be sustainable? It takes energy and water to use. And how any insights on the pros and cons of AI from that sustainability perspective? Does anyone have any AI insights?
I would say I don't, but it does remind me a little bit of the conversation of like compostable versus porcelain and which is more sustainable. So but I don't know. I
Okay.
can't answer that.
No, that's okay. Well, here's something that maybe you can. Have you ever experienced a venue running out of food when guaranteeing less than the number of people registered. Has that ever happened to any of you? We were talking.
Yeah.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead, Jody.
Nancy.
Oh, I was gonna say, I have not
Mhm.
at the meetings that I've produced.
Mhm.
I've heard from attendees saying there's nothing to eat when there's still 2 or 3 chicken breasts in the chafing dish, that there was nothing.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
so perception.
To Jody's point, we really have to educate people and to change their expectations. You should not go to be the last one through a buffet and have it look exactly like the first person. You've got to educate your attendees that you're working on food waste, and there's going to be food, but it might not be exactly like the 2 or 3 chicken breasts.
It's
It
not
might
as
not be exactly what
photogenic
you want,
as it was
but
at the
there's
beginning.
food. But we also can help that by not serving 15 items on a buffet, but have 5 so it can be easily replaced, and that works perfectly. It's like, you've got to remind people. It's like my dad used to always say, the clean plate club, right? If you're going to take an incredible amount, you might as well plan on eating it. We've done events, and at lunch we have, if they took from the buffet, but they have to come back and take their plate to a station, and if their plate is empty, they get a little sticker that says Clean Plate Club. And I'm telling you, the first day it starts like, what's that, and by the second or third day, everybody wants their stickers on their badge to show that they're part of the Clean Plate Club. It's education, and that's our role as the planners in it, and to understand that you're going to come close, but nobody's going to go hungry. We've got to change that in the hospitality business, and that's hard.
And I'll say
especially
2 other tips.
Mhm.
Use the smaller plates.
Mhm.
You don't, I love I'll say the first tip of don't have 27 things on the buffet, because we all just take a little bit of everything. So use smaller plates. And I forgot the other one. So go ahead, Edward.
Edward, you got
Um,
about a minute and a half.
No, then you go, because no, you take it.
Jody, did you have anything else? Okay.
I
Well,
can't remember what it was.
all right. Well, before we say goodbye, and I don't want to, this easily could be a 2-hour webinar. I wanted to mention that we have a new boutique river cruise webinar coming up on September 10th, and we'll be giving away a $500 gift card. Very exciting. I might enter. No, I'm kidding. So thank you so much, panelists. You guys have been wonderful, just full of knowledge. I wish we could have gotten to more. I'm sure the attendees do too. And thanks to all the attendees in the chat who have been posting a lot of great comments during this whole thing.
Mhm.
So I just want to wish everybody a good day, and thank you again. And hopefully we'll be able to do this again sometime. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.